Good morning, sunshine. This is Waylon Lewis, coming to you live from Boulder, Colorado. I'm going to be traveling this week, so I won't be in Boulder, Colorado. And I thought I'm going to go visit my mama, Linda Lewis, who's a big sweetie. She's 70 now, which is crazy to me. And she hasn't been very well. She's been kind of sick. And all kinds of little issues that come along with aging and being human. Some of which are a little bit serious, maybe, but nothing of which hopefully is super, super serious. So I'm not freaked out, but I am pretty concerned. So there's a lot I could talk about today. I was thinking about talking about astrology from a mindful point of view. We have a lot of popular astrology content on Elephant, and it drives me nuts. I was thinking about mindful sexuality, which I've talked about on youtube.com/elephantjournal. If you search sex on there, you're probably searching that term on the internets anyway frequently, so you might as well search for a mindful take on it. And then, what were the other ideas about today? Green tips. I was just down at the most beautiful park in Boulder, and everyone's running around in their bikinis and their swimsuits and doing rope swings and inner tubing and barbecuing, and there were so many barbecues going on. The air was just like gray in this beautiful place, and then there's these huge trash bins, and they're just overflowing, and 99% of what's in there, of course, is not trash. It's recyclable. There's tons of plastic where people could have brought their own containers. But I'm not going to talk about that because it seems like none of us really care about the environment unless it's sort of about health, which is frustrating and sad. And I know fundamentally not true. We all care about our beautiful land, and we care about having clean air and that our children can breathe and that we can breathe. But so today I thought I'd talk about family because we all care about family. And if you have any comments or questions about how to deal with your crazy family, this is probably the most popular subject, even more popular than sex, around the holidays like Thanksgiving, Christmas, any sort of family-centered holiday. A lot of people have, and I think it's a melodramatic word, but I think it's the word that people use. A lot of people have toxic relationships with their family. So whether it's something super serious like abuse, physical abuse, or just sort of trauma or neurotic habitual patterns, we all are made, we're kind of sculpted to a significant extent by our family, and to a significant extent also by our education and our neighborhood and our activities, and by our own tendencies and enthusiasms and all that. So so we're going to talk about how to relate to your family mindfully. So, news at 11, everyone's family is nuts. If any of you are thinking that, like you see these ads in magazines, I don't have any around. Here's a New York Times Sunday magazine, but it's like Tommy Hilfiger, and everyone is like gorgeous in a modelly kind of way, and looks super rich, and they're all just done from a vigorous game of lawn polo, and everyone's smiling and laughing and sexy, and everyone's girlfriends and boyfriends are visiting, and it's this image of a perfect sort of American family, and that really doesn't exist outside of a Tommy Hilfiger ad. And that's kind of okay because there's so many beautiful, wonderful, loving families. The lady I was dating this year, her family, can I say this? Can I talk about this stuff in a video? Well, so I think they would be the first to admit or claim that they're a little bit nuts. The mom is super extroverted and loves to talk and buy things on Craigslist. She probably has like 10 wrought iron tables that she's bought off Craigslist. No one needs that many. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. And but she's got time for it. She makes time because she enjoys buying these quality wrought iron tables off of Craigslist. And then the dad is much more introverted and quiet, and he can be very talkative and fun and sweet if he's comfortable. But there's these extremes, but they're complementary and they're loving to each other generally, and it kind of works. And they have three super intelligent, really cool children, all of whom have their different issues with each other, with themselves, and with their parents. So there's like 18 dynamics right there. And from the inside, they might all feel nuts. From the outside, my perspective, growing up without much family, they seem like this really loving, wonderful, welcoming, feisty, kind of environmentally and politically active family. One of the sons is a poet, one of the daughters is a farmer, and the other daughter is beautiful. Anyway, so that's just an example. From the outside, they might seem amazing. They have these big community events, dinners all the time, and from the inside, they all think they're nuts and crazy, and it's hard. It's hard being in that family. I think at least for my girlfriend situation person. All right, so I'm just blocking the number because I hate it. Facebook gives you this huge number of how many of you are watching right now. Right now, 225 of you are watching. 230 of you are watching. And drives me nuts. I feel like if you were on a date and there was a rating for whatever you were saying at any moment, it would make you kind of self-conscious and the date would go off the rails. Well, maybe we're on a date, but nobody's getting any. All right. So here's my family situation. I grew up without a dad, really. I mean, he exists. He did some good work in the beginning. That's why I exist. They were in love. He was from New York area. My mom was from the West Coast. They met right in the middle in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, at these teachings of this Buddhist fellow, Trungpa Rinpoche. That the teachings where they met became a book called Crazy Wisdom, and they fell in love, and he was super charismatic and crazy. My mom's first memory of him was him dancing all sweaty and like long hair on the dance floor, being super like charismatic, but also really just gross and kind of sweaty and like a big sweaty bear, basically. And of course, from that auspicious beginning, they fell in love. And I was conceived down in southern Colorado on a snowy night. They were in an A-frame cabin kind of thing. Maybe they may have been drinking some tequila, and then I happened 9 months later. But my dad wasn't around too much. He was 25, and I remember when I was 25, I went to go get my birth certificate, a copy of it, and I looked at my birth certificate, and it said on there, father, 25 years old, and at that time I was 25, and I couldn't even pay my rent. And it was a real moment of sort of compassion or insight into my father, who, I could have blamed for not being around, but being a father when you're not ready, and he was not ready, and or being a parent of any kind is really tough stuff. Luckily, my mom was ready. She was 28. She loved me, not to death. She loved me to life, and she was amazing. We were super broke. So we biked and walked everywhere. She still walks everywhere. We would go to free stuff all the time, like go to the movies at the library, or I don't know. We did a ton of just free stuff. My mom knew about everything free, and we did some things that cost money, like I don't know. It was a big treat to go to a restaurant. That was a rare thing. So anyway, she loved me so much, and it was amazing. And then when I was 15, I was ready to party. I was ready to have girlfriends. I was ready to make trouble, and our relationship flipped. And she went from being loving, like I was her best friend, to being like, who is this crazy animal that has replaced my son? Because I didn't want to call home and be like, Mom, I'm at party number 2. I'll be going to party number 3 at 9:45, and then we might stop by this place. And it was pre-cell phone, and she wanted like accountability, and I just was realistic. I was 15. I was like, I'm not going to be calling in every time I move locations, and I may not be home at 11, but I'll take care of myself. You raised me to take care of myself. So for whatever reason, I've had, I think, just being only child and being independent minded, I've had pretty good relations with my father's side of my family, my mother's side of my family, and my mother. And I think that's the number one mindful tip for in my own experience for a mindful relationship with your family is they may be your family, but you're still you and you're still responsible for you. So don't lean on them too much. I know some relatives who will go unnamed, since this is a live video, um, had a big inheritance coming to them and they never wound up getting it. So they wound up spending like 20, 25 years. It was a guy I was very close with in my family, and he spent 20, 25 years sort of waiting for that inheritance. And then when it didn't come, he was so angry and so bummed out, and it kind of messed up his whole life's plans. And from my perspective as a child who had never had any money, it seems silly. Like, if you want money, it's out there. You just have to make sure you have a decent education, which is easier said than done for some of us. But even if you're at public school, just works. I mean, I was at public schools, worked super hard, and enjoy reading. I mean, reading is probably the number one best thing you can do to self-educate yourself. Meditation, we'll do 2 minutes of meditation, helps you stay grounded, especially when you need it, when you're a crazy kid. And then there's the whole realm of toxic family members, anyone who's sort of abusive or just horrible or malevolent or has serious addictions, just a bad influence. And those people, I think it's well within your right to keep distant from them if you're forced to be around them, to make sure that you're safe and that your loved ones are safe. And you can do that by talking openly about your concerns. There's a lot of power in talking openly over a dinner table or whatever the situation is. Don't be afraid to break a couple eggs if you're doing, to make an omelet, if you're doing that to protect, a sister or a brother, anyone who's vulnerable, including yourself. So at the end here, if you have any comments or questions or positive experiences about how to relate mindfully to your family, leave them in the comments and I'll go through them, and they'll be super helpful for everyone, whether they're a question or a comment. So I think family is right up there with relationships in being the single most humbling thing. So from a Buddhist point of view, relationships and family are super important because we can think that we're amazing entrepreneurs and that we've created this app and we're going to make millions of dollars and we're going to be the next Steve Jobs. And then we can't even get along with our girlfriend or our boyfriend, or, we can't even order food with our father or uncle, or we get in a fight with our aunt about X and Y, or our mom. Like the other day, I love my mom and I get on with her really well, but she was feeling really sad because of her health stuff, and I'm about to visit her for 10 days tomorrow. That's why I'm talking about all this. So the Facebook Lives may or may not be happening a little bit, because I'll be in Canada, the land of Trudeau. And my mom was just sort of feeling really sorry for herself, and not in a bad way. I don't blame her. She's in a rough situation health-wise. And then my best friend walked in and was saying, hey, if you need a second opinion from a doctor, I'm well connected. She said no. He said, all right, Mama Bear, la la la. And she got mad that he called her Mama Bear, because somehow she thinks it's sort of a weird insult, or that it means he thinks she's his mom. She said various things, none of which made sense. And she was just kind of being full on rude to my best friend, who's just trying to be helpful. I mean, I didn't pick up any attitude from him. And so then I felt like defending my best friend. And before you know it, I'm like kind of being almost rude to my mom, who's sick. So these are the kinds of confabulating, ridiculously humbling situations we come into with our family all the time. The road to a difficult family or personal relationship is paved with good intentions. So my main thing would be, again, that independence. So, you are connected to them with blood, with love, whatever, but to really remember that you're responsible for yourself, and you can just be independent. You can just, you don't have to blame them for your problems. I know that my father really wasn't around, really didn't help out, really almost did everything wrong ever that he ever could have done with me. But he's still like a loving, charismatic, sweet guy who is a part of my life, and I do love him. And I remember when I graduated from college, there was this moment of kind of just letting go, because at that point he really had missed the boat in helping me out. I no longer needed or expected anything from him, and that was a relief. And he did give me a love for baseball. He gave me he tried to give me a love for opera. There's not a lot there. I mean, I really view him more as a lovable uncle, because he is lovable and I do love him, but he's not particularly my father. It takes more than blood or sex to become a father or a mother. And I'm only talking openly about this, not to put him in a weird situation or myself, but because it's kind of my job is to talk, hopefully, is to talk about how to be a mindful, open person, not from the point of view of authority, but that I was lucky enough to grow up in this Buddhist situation that really trained the hell out of me, and literally trained the hell out of me, wrangled me like a little wild horse that I was, and hopefully use myself as an example like any writer would. So I'm not doing this for any weird motivation other than just to make my experience available, and maybe it'll meet your experience or point out different things, and you can leave those in the comments. So I'm going to now read all. Confuzzled, that is the word I was going for. Confuzzled. So I'm going to go through all the comments. But first, here's a commercial. They're not a sponsor. There's nothing funny going on, but I love them. And they did just send us a bunch of food for our staff retreat. So when you go to the Natural Products Expo West, it's all the product companies that are in Whole Foods or Safeway or wherever, and almost all of them are bad for you because they're super packaged, they're super processed, they're super this and that. So one exception is Made in Nature. Why I like them and why Michael Pollan would like them is they're literally like, this one is organic dried fruit and nut snack, organic unbaked energy balls. Like, they're just food. So that's enough commercial, but I like to support companies that are actually worthwhile and aren't trying to treat us like consumers, but treat us like human beings who need real food. And there's good stuff in them. All right. Made in Nature. They're kind of like this broadcast equivalent of, who was it on Lake Wobegon? The buttermilk biscuits. And thank you for the sponsorship of the buttermilk biscuits. All right, Marcella, I'm going to go through all your comments. Then we're going to do a little meditation instruction. Then we're going to get you all out of here. All right. Marcela del Sol, beautiful name. I am the officially crazy in my family. That's interesting. Say more. Jess, toxic is a perfect word. Yeah, so Travis, we have a whole bunch of articles about family dynamics, if you can leave those in the comments if you haven't already. I'm thinking about toxic family relationship tips or something for Thanksgiving or Christmas. All right, Well Spirit, Udabomb. No, Udabomb. Marcella, you look gorgeous too, like an aw. I'll take it. All right, if you want to flirt, by the way, any of you, with each other, with new people, with me, that's always welcome. Meet Mindful is a great dating website for people who aren't super sleazy. So if you are sleazy, please don't join. All right, Morag Anderson. Dealing with newly retired parents who do nothing but bicker and nitpick at each other like children. So emotionally draining. Morag. So, great comment. So, yeah, that bicker and nitpick, I mean, on some level, it's like, they're kind of like, I don't mean to say this in a rude way, but like, I was just walking my dog and he was playing with a bunch of dogs, and dogs are the same way. If they don't get a way to use their energy in a productive way, they're just gonna get in little fights and tiffs all the time. So my suggestion for the newly retired parents is they need to find stuff that they love doing. They need to find stuff they enjoy, whether it's something to use their energy, whether it's like postage stamp collecting or playing cards or socializing with the other folks in their neighborhood, or contributing or volunteering. Until they're finding a positive outlet for that energy, they're going to just, that nitpicking and bickering, as you say, it's almost meant to be emotionally drained. They need to drain their emotions. They need to drain their energy. So find something for them to do, and make sure they like it. And if they don't like it, keep looking. And you almost have to be like what do you call it? Like an activities director for them. Pretend they're attending a wedding that is the rest of their life, and they need a whole bunch of activities to do before the wedding. That was a weird analogy. Jelena Pratik Bakshi, beautiful name. What is your personal opinion about definition of family? Family, that's a great question. Family obviously means your mother, your father, your sisters, your brothers, your uncles, your cousins. I don't have most of that in my world. I have a sweet aunt. I have a sweet father who I've talked about. I have a sweet mom. I have an amazing grandma. And that's about it. I don't think I have anything else. I have some stepbrother action. I have 2 younger half-brothers, but I don't really know them, and they're so much younger than me. You know, I kind of look like their father. So, Luke. So, personal definition of family. I guess anyone who is sort of in the family unit, whether you're related to them or not. If you attend Thanksgiving with them, they're your family. So, there you go. I attend Thanksgivings with a sort of second family, Peggy Markel's family. She's in a photo swimming in a natural pool in my Instagram from yesterday. Instagram.com/Waylon Lewis. All right. Sorry, my phone keeps sliding. First world problems. All right. Neil Le Lacheur. You sound like a intellectual French lover. I hear you, but you need to step up to the plate. Just because you're not ready is no excuse to me. Not ready for what? I don't remember what you're talking about. Not ready for children? That's true. I mean, Pema Chodron talks about how if you're waiting to be perfect, you're going to wait forever. That said, I'm pretty sure generally that you want a partner when you raise a kid. You definitely don't need it. You don't have to, but I personally would like a partner, and I want a partner who I'm willing to be with or be around for the rest of my life. So, if you got to know me, you'd understand that's a lot to ask of someone. So, no rush. I'm only 42. I'm a spring chicken. I have plenty of time. All right, family. Great comment from Tracy. Marag. Yeah, and the whole emotionally draining thing, remember, if you're taking care of kindergartners, that could be exhausting, but is it emotionally draining? Hopefully not. So what's the difference between that and relating with your parents who are bickering and fighting? With kindergartners, there's some sense that it's cute, that it's fine, it doesn't affect you, and at the end of the day, you can kind of leave it at home. So try that approach with your parents, that basically they're responsible for their own bickering. You aren't. They're never going to be the Tommy Hilfiger perfect family. Perfect isn't that attractive anyway. And so this was a really good lesson from my father and my uncle back in the day, was they were kind of, my uncle particularly was like a grab bag full of neurotic habits, but I loved him and he loved me, and I didn't expect that much of him in a funny way. And that might sound negative, but it allowed him the freedom to just be himself. And I didn't approve of some things, some of his kind of gross habits or whatever, but he was just a wreck. But he was also brilliant and charming and sweet and a wreck. And I was just like a friend there. I was just like a witness for him. And I didn't, we could just be fully honest with each other. And I think he valued that. And we were close for that reason. Even though it was hard for him to be around almost any of my family without getting in a fight within like 20 seconds, he and I were able to hang out and be relatively genuine. And sometimes it was hard and he drove me nuts, but he was very, very, he was able to be very open with me because instead of treating him like a disappointment for what he could have been, I treated him like who he was. I just was there with and for him. And, I wasn't, being disappointed in someone because they're kind of a walking train wreck is its own form of aggression. So like with your parents, don't expect them to be perfect. Just kind of, like Obama style, just learn to kind of brush it off. And you can also really practice breathing around them. So Tong Len, is a Buddhist meditation practice. Travis maybe can put it in the comments, where we learn that what we formerly thought of as emotionally draining, that's our fault. Our attitude that makes something emotionally draining is our fault. And fault is a negative word for a positive thing, which is actually within our power to not be emotionally drained by it. Just by not transforming our preconception of the situation, that it's disappointing, that it's negative, that it's irritating, into something that is like, it's their responsibility, I'm my responsibility, and I'm going to try to help them along. You actually can transform their situation more effectively than if you keep kind of prejudging them. A lot of hippie types, new agey types will always say judging is a negative thing. I don't think it is. Justice is that blind, the goddess, what's her name? So justice is blind. Justice is, or judging, I should say, is just viewing things as they are. But prejudging, prejudice, is the problem. If you're prejudging, that means you're coming in anti-Sherlock Holmes style with a preconceived notion of what's happening. And that's, if you read those Sherlock Holmes books, and I talk about this in our academy, our journalism class that any of you can join, elephantjournal.com/academy. The academy button is on every page of elephantjournal.com. I talk about this in there. I say, Sherlock Holmes has this great quote. He says, I don't do anything magical. All I do is I go in completely open-minded and I look at the facts and then I connect them and I figure out a story from that, instead of going in with an idea of the story and then trying to get the facts to suit that. Does that make sense? I think it's super interesting. Alrighty. Millie. Yeah, my mother was amazing. She was horrible at money and practical stuff, but she was incredible at, like, not all practical stuff. We had a good home. We ate very simple food. We never ate pizza or soda or anything that cost much money, just simple, good food. This was before farmers markets and all that came back, but we ate very simple food and not a ton of meat because it was expensive, and now I'm vegan boy. And she was just incredibly loving and really encouraged me to draw and to do. I did Zen archery, Kudo. We have a great article on that. If you search Kudo, Travis, put it in the comments. The point of Kudo was that, like, I was a young kid. Maybe I wasn't interested in meditation, but I could do meditation in action. What young boy doesn't want to do, like, or girl do, like, samurai meditation, archery? It's cool. All right. Travis, nice comment. All right. Where are all these elephant blogs? Oh, there they are. All right. Best of luck at your mom's. Good vibes from me to her for her health situation. Glad I just discovered you 1 week ago. Robin, yeah, thank you. So all of my videos, most of which are much shorter, they're like 4 or 5 minutes, are on youtube.com/elephantjournal or on our homepage under Walk the Talk Show. And I've interviewed Michael Pollan and Deepak Chopra and all these cool people. But then I also just spout off about mindful tips for everyday life that I was given and taught growing up in the Buddhist situation with my mom. All right. Elaine, ultimately family is the most important thing in your life. Maybe in your life. In my life, I haven't had much family around me. So the most important thing in my life is simply finding a way, I would say, is right livelihood. And I have a video on that, the 4 requirements of a job you love. That was just the most popular article, this subject in New York Times last week, was finding a job you love and how to do that. So we have this video on right livelihood, and I'm not disagreeing with you, Elaine. I just am saying, for my life, family hasn't played that much of a role. Of course, it's important, and even its absence is important, but for me, it's much more about finding a path of service that I can enjoy, make a living doing, and be useful, be of benefit. Honestly, the few days where I feel I'm completely useful and completely of benefit are the best. Those and the days when I get to go to El Dorado Springs Pool. Alrighty. Jean, correcting my confabulated to confuzzled, which was the word I was going for, or lack of word I was going for. Jane, Monica, Akinyi. My sisters don't like me, and it does not matter what I do to help them. I've decided to stay away for some time. I miss them, but I need some space to make them realize their mistakes. Jane, there's this amazing article. Travis, leave this article for Jane. If you can tag Jane, Ask Amy on elephantjournal.com, and it's about that kind of situation, the judgment and the kind of petty junior high uh, bullying and competitiveness that family can put one another through. It's really, family is not an excuse to be cruel to people, especially if they're a little weaker or sillier or weirder. Um, Family can be cruel stuff. But yeah, giving yourself some space, that sounds like the right thing to do, Jane. That, as long as you couple that space with Maitri. So, Travis, if you can leave that Maitri comment in the comments for Jane and for anyone. Maitri is loving kindness, how to love yourself when you're unlovable. We all love the parts of ourselves that are okay, that are cool, that we already feel like are cool. Um, but loving the unlovable. That's why I like the word loneliness, not aloneness. It's actually the difficult experience of loneliness that we're trying to make friends with, not aloneness. Everyone's cool with aloneness. We have a blog also, the Buddhist notion of loneliness as a good thing. Travis, if you can leave that in comments. For me, that's one of the most helpful subjects because life is easy when it's going well, right? Oh, everything's great. I'm awesome. You're awesome. Things are cool. And then everything goes wrong, and you go through some intense loneliness or maybe depression. How do you deal with that? Travis, I also have a blog on something like salves for everyday depression, and it's got an image of Walt Whitman on it. So find the one with the old white bearded man. All right, Meredith. Meredith, yeah, just don't even work on letting go. Just let go. You're your own self. You got your own life. You're awesome. Do your own thing. And then your father will be attracted to connect with you or not. And either way, you're good. And if he's going to be part of your life, all to the better. But if he's not, you're you. So go get it. Good on you. Elaine. Yeah, Elaine, the in-laws. The infamous subject of the in-laws coming into the picture. So even if you're blessed with this great family, everything's happy, hunky-dory, the in-laws. So, or maybe the in-laws are a relief from your crazy family. But anyway, family is infinitely challenging. Tammy, you wish you had a nice family. So if you wish you had a nice family, read that blog called Maitri and create your own nice family. My stepbrother, when I was a kid, Danny Lewis, who I'm strangely not in touch with. We were very close off and on as kids. And we made like a blood pact, maybe not a blood pact, but we made a solemn oath when we were like 12 or 15 or 18 or something. Given how crazy our families were, and there's plenty I'm not mentioning, that we were going to be the first generation of Lewises to raise loving, kind, honest, respectful families. And I'm sure he's ahead of me on this. He got married, like 8 years ago or something? And I got to get back in touch with him. Danny Lewis. Last I know, he was in Boston at Harvard grad school, I think. All right, Tammy, the best thing I've been able to do is work on my own mindfulness, kindness, and so on, and just try to have a positive impact on my family by being a good, as much as I can, example. Oh, that was from Travis. Travis, that's a beautiful, beautiful comment. Travis is embodying Maitri and self-responsibility, which is a very kind of traditionally Republican notion. So look at us being all Republican for once. All right. Yeah, if anyone's in Halifax, Nova Scotia and you want to connect, I'm going to be up there for 10 days. Running around. I also need a bicycle, by the way. Barbara, thank you. It's resonant mostly because I haven't woken up fully. Joey, yeah, you bet. Fiona, my mom is having a similar health problem. I'm finding it hard to be present for her and my children and my brothers, never mind myself. Also, I've a similar situation with my dad too. Fiona, yeah, that's tough. I mean, so there's two situations going on. Are you being asked? Are people asking too much of you, kind of selfishly because they're not taking care of themselves? In that case, let go. There's a blog, Travis, if you can put in comments, called Idiot Compassion, where we're compassionate, we help people out, but it actually kind of is debilitating for them. It's not good for them. Idiot compassion, great Buddhist notion. On the other hand, do they really need you? Does your mom really need you? You know, if everyone really needs you, if they're like doing their best, but they still really need help, then you got to try and be there for them or find other people who can be there for them. That's what family is for. Really showing up for people when they're down. And I've done that for best friends, you know. I don't have a lot of people who are looking to me for help. So when a best friend, say, has a kid and needs food dropped off, or when a best friend is sick and needs food dropped off, I'm like, I love to be there for them because, you know, I'm a bachelor. I got my dog and my work, and that's about all I'm responsible for right now. So, you know, reach out to people and, oh, yeah, Travis, you got to leave the elephant meat mindful link. Come on, man. Talk to Bess. All right. But that is the link. So click away, and my profile is on there, you crazy kids. All right, Elizabeth Cap, what advice would you have given your mother knowing what you know now? Advice about what? Advice about when I was 15 and I was crazy and just wanted to party? I would tell my mom to let go. That 15-year-old Waylon is not going to be calling in 4 times a night saying, I'm at a pizza location, and then in half an hour I'm going to be over at this barbecue, and then in 2 hours I'm going to be flirting with Susanna Brown at this, other location, and then, who cares? I'm just going to come home safe at night. I'm not going to drink and drive. I'm not going to be an idiot. That's what you care about. When I have children, I'm going to raise them. You can't protect your children from life. You can train them to protect themselves. Easier said than done. But you can empower children to be intelligent and to have good judgment. And you can start with the little things. Like if a kid is skateboarding while playing Pokemon Go, that is bad judgment. They are not protecting themselves from, they're not being aware of their situation. So you can start with the little things. But you don't have to do it in a negative way. You have to find a way to motivate them. Like there's this quote by Le Petit Prince. I think it's in a blog, Travis. One of my best quotes ever blogs. If you want to leave it in the comments, but it's something about if you want to teach people to sail, don't teach them how to tie knots and how to adjust the sails. Instead, teach them a love for the sea. And if they have a love for the sea, they'll learn everything else, and they'll be self-motivated. Yeah, Joey, amen. I mean, of course, but at the same time, there is something deeper about family that drives us nuts. So it's not just like the whole world is our family, which is true. Muslims are our family, Mexicans are our family, our gay brothers and sisters are our family, police officers are our family, African Americans are our family, the rich are our family, the poor are our family, everyone's our family. But at the same time, family are people who just drive you nuts because they're kind of on the inside of your experience and view of life. So family, we do have to respect the notion that family is this kind of special, confuzzling thing. All right, Charmaine, how do you solve the problem when the persons you love the most, i.e. family, draws a lot of negativity? Should you avoid or hold on in there? So again, Charmaine, you can transform your own understanding of negativity. You can use the energy, kind of like in judo. You take the negative energy and you, tiger claw. You can transform it by kind of rolling with it and working with it. Just like a surfer doesn't view the wave as negative energy, whereas if you don't have a surfboard or you don't know how to surf, a huge wave crashing down on you could be viewed as negative energy. Instead, a surfer will spend thousands of dollars on equipment and whatever just to get in that situation so that they could enjoy that wave. So Tonglen is the direct Buddhist meditation on how to work with negative energy and transform it into positive or generosity or goodness. So read that blog, Tonglen, which hopefully Travis has been drinking a lot. So he may not be leaving the comments. Travis is a troubled individual. No, Travis yesterday, I think, went to Shambhala Mountain Center, which I have a blog on the Great Stupa at Shambhala Mountain Center. And we have really cool videos of it. All of you should watch those videos. They're really cool. YouTube.com/Elephant Journal. Search Stupa, which is like stupid, but stupa. Ashley is being very positive, which is just like her. In reality, her family drives her nuts and isn't there for her in key times. So that's it. That's the thing that, and I'm not trying to be rude, but we all tend to be like positive and loving about our family. Oh, maybe Ashley's talking about her children. Her children are amazing, but she's also had to be a really powerful, sweet, vulnerable, generous mom. Like, family is tough stuff. Ashley is one of the coolest family units I've ever seen in my life. And yet it's been like heavy lifting, except for Piper, her daughter, who's just weirdly perfect and sweet and intelligent and modest all the time. No, that's not true. Even Piper is nuts. We're all nuts. And when you combine a whole bunch of nutsy people, we drive each other nuts. We blame each other. So one of the most powerful Buddhist techniques to transform that is the notion of drive all blames into one. And I won't say too much about it unless you want me to talk about it, but it transforms the notion of blame. So if your father drives you nuts, if your mother drives you nuts, if your sister drives you nuts, you can practice drive all blames into one. And suddenly, I mean, that really is the path to the independence I was talking about before. So Travis, can you leave that in comments, please? Brad Allen Hersman. Waylon, what are your thoughts on having an immediate family member whom is toxic to daily mindfulness? My relationship with my father is truly strained, as he is a racist and tend to exemplify everything Buddhism does not. He even goes so far as to tell me my religion is a farce. I hope you get to this question, as I'm currently in the hospital for an MRI. If I cannot watch the rest, I'll watch the video later this evening. Thanks in advance. All right, everyone, like his comment. Brad is being super sweet and open and honest. So Brad, first of all, my response would be the path to wakefulness, or to getting out of that situation that you're struggling with, is openness and honesty. And you just exemplified that in your question. It's the most open and honest question or comment that I've read today. So you're on the right track. So don't discount your own intelligence. But number two, what I would say is you have to extend that openness and honesty to your father without aggression. So there's nothing more powerful than saying, like for years my father would say, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Well, he'd never really been there for me, ever, that I can think of, like never in any circumstance. In fact, he kind of almost went out of his way not to be there for me. So while I did love him because he's a lovable guy, I was always a little troubled by that. Like, expressing love is a powerful thing. So we had a talk about that at some point. I said, you know, let's talk about our love for one another. And is it actually a day-to-day love, or is it just this theoretical, nice Valentine's postcard, pink heart love with frilly lace on the side? Because if that's all it is, it's a rather shallow thing, this love. So we talked about it, and that was powerful. And it's hard, but you know, it's okay that your father is racist. It's okay that your father exemplifies everything Buddhism does not. It's okay that he thinks your religion is a farce. He has to deal with his own prejudgment, his prejudice. He has to deal with his own aggression. And if he's not dealing with it, then he's sublimating it, and he has to deal with that. So the most powerful thing you can do is let him just be himself. You know, a lot of this world is prejudiced and racist. And of course, those things aren't okay. But when it's your family member, or really any of us, we can't control the world. You can't just ding him with your Harry Potter wand. Ding! That's my Harry Potter plastic Bic wand, only 69 cents, and make him like this loving, wonderful father that you wish and that you deserve, that you had. But what you can do is let him be him, and also let yourself be yourself and be open and honest with him in a non-aggressive way. So, you know, if he says something disparaging about black people or about gay people or about your religion, you can say, hey, you know what, Dad? I understand you're just expressing what you think is right. And that's good. We all should do that. But you should know that gay people, black people, that whatever my religion is that you're insulting, isn't what you think it is. These are good people. My religion is really helpful to me. It helps me put up with jerks like yourself. Frankly, you're being a jerk. And you can just be straight up about it. It's sort of like pretend he's a Yankees fan and you're a Red Sox fan and he's just constantly saying horrible stuff about you. But you don't hate him for it. I know Red Sox and Yankees fans kind of hate each other, but you don't hate each other. I mean, you kind of do, but you don't actually hate each other, although you sort of do. It's a bad example. Let's move to a sport where people care less. Anyway, the point is if you can be open and just straightforward and sit in your own strength, be seated. So, you practice that, be seated in your own strength. And it is easier said than done, but it's also not that hard to just say what you think. And that's the same in a relationship. If someone is kind of taking advantage of you, say, hey, I kind of feel like you're taking advantage of me. My friend Dave Rogers, who doesn't take advantage of me, but he out-argues me all the time. And the running joke, at least with me, is when he out-argues me, I still think I'm right and he's wrong. He's just a way better arguer. So all I'm left with at the end is saying, well, you might have out-argued me, but I still think you're wrong, and I still think I'm right because of X and Y, but I just can't express it as well as you can. He's kind of like, he's like a hip-hop artist with his mouth. You just can't compete with that mouth. So why try? But you can still, in your moment of weakness, just express yourself simply, maybe with some sense of modesty or humor. So Brad, I don't know that that's very helpful, but the main thing is honesty. So I wrote this chapter in my book, Things I Would Like to Do With You, about I would like to hear from you when you are confused, or when you are afraid. So even when you're having a rough time, you can express yourself. So just learn to express yourself in your vulnerability when you're hurt, when you feel like someone's being a jerk, but do it without blame. So read that, drive all blames into one thing. And Travis, if you want to leave that chapter in the comments, it's free to read. It's not marketing too much, hopefully. I mean, if we're marketing stuff, it's mindful stuff and eco, hopefully. Every one of these books is plastic free and plants a tree with every purchase. Alrighty, Brad, big love to you. Super sweet and powerful and difficult question. But basically, we all have jerks in our lives and we need to be able to relate to them without aggression, without blame, but with honesty that is unconditional, that it can come from perceived weakness. All right. Robin, my adult daughter suffers with drug addiction. While I can deal mindfully with most difficult situations, she knows how to push my buttons. Any suggestions for help to be more mindful with family that really pushes your buttons, but you don't want to completely cut out of your life? Well, Robin, that's an incredibly difficult situation. So first of all, honor yourself for trying and failing, it sounds like many times, to deal with a difficult situation. In a way, that is the most beautiful definition of family and of love, is that you might fail again and again, but you're still willing to try because you love them and you don't want to cut them out of your life. So the buttons thing, I just talked about that with my friend Peggy. Her daughter is going through some stuff with other stuff that I can't talk about because it's private. And whenever Peggy tries to bring it up with her daughter, it kind of pushes her daughter's buttons. Basically, her daughter feels disrespected, like Peggy doesn't trust her or whatever, and or respect her or her situation. And her daughter, on the other hand, pushes Peggy's buttons, which are mainly about concern for her daughter. So if our buttons are pushed, we need to really find a way to talk about these things, again, without blame. So that drive all blames into one notion. We need to be able to say, and I'm going to make up a situation here so I can actually talk about something. So let's say I don't have a daughter, but let's say my daughter is going through something difficult, like an abusive relationship. I need to be able to talk about that with my daughter out of love and concern, and with a sense of like, what are we going to do, and action, without undermining her own experience or her own desires. I can't fix her life for her, but I can try to help her if she's interested. So the first thing you need is your daughter has to be interested in recovering from her drug addiction. If she's not, there's not a lot you can do except try and get her to the point where she's interested. And, you know, we have a lot of articles on drug addiction on elephantjournal.com. There's only so much that you can learn online or from reading. But, you know, maybe having your daughter talk with those who have gone through and come through the other side with drug addiction could be powerful, because fundamentally we all want to live a good life. Even the longing for drugs is on some level coming out of depression or loneliness or sadness or boredom or whatever it's coming out of, wanting some feeling of connection and joy. And drugs can be that, especially at first, and then, you know, you get addicted and you're kind of continually looking for it. So it's a very difficult situation. First of all, Robin, we all give our love to you. If everyone can like and hug and comment to Robin with any suggestions they have, that would be appreciated. Read a couple articles on drug addiction on Elephant if you care to. If not, of course, that's fine. And basically just know that the button pushing thing you can control by Tonglen is helpful, but just basically breathing really deeply, breathing into the pain or into the stress, and knowing that you love her and that you're coming even clumsily out of a place of love, that you're doing your best. So that's Maitri. You need to kind of have self-loving kindness and forgiveness for yourselves. All right, and Robin, know that asking people questions is a wonderful also path to figuring it out. Don't be bottled up, just really communicate. And at the same time, nobody can do it for you. Nobody can know your situation, so you have to trust the principal one. That's another blog, Travis, we could put up in comments. Brooke, I love your thoughts. I love that you gave your uncle space to be himself. Yeah, I mean, I loved my uncle. It has to be genuine. It can't just be a spiritual kind of technique that you're trying. I really loved my uncle. He was kind. He was warm. He was charismatic. You know what he was, which almost no one else in my family at that time was, is he was genuine, and he loved me, and he cared about me, and he helped me, and he was fun. And then he had all these neurotic, I mean, super neurotic things going on, but he could be honest about them to some extent, and I could be honest with him about them. And if we couldn't be honest, we could kind of joke around the lack of honesty. So like one example is he was super overweight off and on. And so we would go to all the best restaurants in New York. I was super poor, but he just spent money as if it grew on trees. He had a software job. He wasn't rich, but he made decent money. And so he would take me out, and it'd be like, you know, I'd be like a little farm boy Waylon in the big city, and I'd be going to this amazing restaurant and be like, no, I don't want anything. He'd never order anything. Or maybe just get a little salad, like iceberg lettuce. And then whatever I ordered, he'd wind up eating most of my plate. So he wasn't really being honest about his own issues with overeating. But we can joke around it and make fun around it. And, you know, that helps him be honest and relax around his issues. And then, you know, maybe the next morning when we'd go to coffee, he lived in Chelsea, we'd go to some cafe at like between 17th and 18th on, I forgot. Anyway, it's been a while. But it was some great cafe with a bench out front, and maybe he'd have relaxed enough about his issues, because we'd be joking about them in a kind way, that he'd get a muffin and he'd eat it in front of me, which was kind of it was funny that like a 350-pound man, he was 6'5", 300-pound, I don't know how much he weighed, probably 300, 250, that he couldn't comfortably eat in front of other people because he was always trying to diet his whole life. All right, Mish, I have a very difficult family. Oh, and Travis, I wrote about that, a mindful diet that actually works or something. The amount of energy we can put into losing 5 pounds, the sort of Kate Moss notion that it feels better to be skinny than to being skinny tastes better than anything we can ever eat, something like that. Talk about a toxic notion. So I wrote an article about that. So if any of you have eating issues, I've also done a video on it on youtube.com/elephantjournal or the Walk the Talk Show section on our homepage, elephantjournal.com. Mish, I have a very difficult family. How do you live with them? They are overprotective and really abusive. They use my weaknesses and insecurities against me. I can't move out yet, so I don't know how I can deal with this. I believe I am losing a set of experiences because of my parents. Mish, how old are you? I mean, you don't have to say, but I mean, are you in high school? Like, why can't you move out? Um, it might be helpful for you to be able to move out if you're, in college or after that. I know you say you can't, I assume for financial reasons, but you can probably figure out how to do it. Get some roommates, get some independence. If they're really abusive, that's a situation you need distance from. If they're just overprotective, using your weaknesses and insecurities against yourself, that's stuff that you can actually engage with and grow through. As Winston Churchill says, I love this quote, it's in one of my blogs, or in 8 of them probably. He says, you can't get away from stuff. You can only get away from stuff by going into it. So that overprotective weakness, insecurity stuff, you can figure that out. The main thing is to, in a way, get more humble and less protective. You have to kind of let all that stuff in and just know how to process it and then breathe out. So instead of just walling it off, which doesn't even work, we still feel it like you're expressing. We have to learn to be able to transform it and process it. It's sort of like we have to have the bravery to be open and vulnerable, but not in a weak way. We have to be strong behind that openness and vulnerability. In Buddhism, they say open, soft, raw heart, strong spine. So meditation helps us do that. So we'll do a couple minutes of meditation, but I would read the blogs we put in the comments. That might help you. And if they're actually physically abusive, the best thing is going to be to find a good situation to go to. Don't just find a random situation to go to. Find some roommates or friends, or your own situation. Get out of there. And if you can't figure out the money, you got to still figure out the money. If they're abusive, you need to get out of there. I'm sure you can sleep on someone's couch for now, but don't just go to another questionable situation. You got to take care of yourself. And if you're 18 or below, if they're physically abusive, you may need to report that. If they're just emotionally abusive, then hopefully some of the blogs here will help you transform that. All right, Maria, good luck to you, Mish, and if everyone can give her some love and luck in whatever form. I'll just like your thing. It's sort of meaningless, but it's still an expression of love, which is not meaningless. All right, family can be the worst cause. They know all your business, and they love to bring up your imperfections at all times. Maria, that's true, but you don't have any imperfections. I have no idea what you're talking about. No, but seriously, that's where the drive all blames into one, the kind of always trust the principal one. These various Buddhist slogans are really powerful. If they're bringing up what's bad about you, then you have to just be able to be friends with your own badness. It's like in junior high, people will pick on you and bully on you until such time as you're okay with it. I mean, not okay with the bullying, okay with what they're making fun of. And if you're okay with what they're making fun of, then they have nothing they can do. They have no strength. Bullies are cowards, as we know, but we need to not be cowards ourselves. We need to engage in Maitri. So read that blog. Den, how do you get out of the rut of a deep depression? Well, if it's a sort of day-to-day human deep depression, you can read that blog that Travis has hopefully put in the comments about with the Walt Whitman, Everyday Depression. That's what works for me, and we all go through it. And there's a real thing now where people say you're not allowed to talk about depression. It's a clinical thing. That's not really true. All human beings go through depression. All human beings go through anger. All human beings go through sadness. All human beings go through the whole rainbow of human experience. But to be fair, if it is a clinical chemical depression, you're not going to get solutions from blogs on the internet. You need to address that seriously with a doctor or whatever. But we also have a great blog, Travis, the 5% or 2%, 5% solution to depression, which acknowledges the clinical depression and still gives you ways to work with it. All right, Meredith, love to you. Maria, what blog about a nice family? I don't know. Travis, I have a couple blogs about my grandmother that are a nice family. One, my grandma's advice on what to look for in a partner, like marriage, and another one, if you could find a couple that mentioned Grandma Carol, basically. Heather, I've recently had to draw the line mindfully with a sibling of mine who abuses prescription drugs. He was living with me for a brief time. When I discovered he was doing this, I have to go plug in. Where's my plug? I don't have my plug. He was living with me for a brief time. When I discovered he was doing this, I had no idea before he moved in that he was abusing pills. I told him that he couldn't live with my family until after he'd gone to rehab, but he now resents me. Well, of course he resents you, because he was trying to get away with something, and he's lost in something that a lot of us get lost in and feel helpless in. It's very difficult to go through that and to be exposed and to be kicked out, right? That's a tough process. I did what I felt I had to do, but now I'm missing out on a relationship with one of my best friends. It feels impossible to make him understand that I made the decision to ask him to leave because I do love him. I wonder, how I can open up lines of communication because he is ignoring my attempts to talk her right. Number one, I feel like you did a very reasonable thing, which is, you have children. You asked him to leave with his abusing pills, and he needs to deal with that. And you do not need to communicate with him for now. He knows you care about him. He knows that you're imperfect. He knows that he has a abuse situation, a drug abuse situation. He knows that he needs to deal with his stuff, and if he doesn't, he's fighting that knowledge. So honestly, I would just let go of communicating with him for now. The best thing you can do is just take care of yourself and give him space. And just, if he ever does communicate, honestly, restrict yourself to 5 words. Like, please deal with your situation. You know I love you. I have to have boundaries in terms of what affects my children, my family, and that's it. It's very simple. So keep it simple. And just it sounds like you have a little letting go to do. He needs to deal with his situation. You can't force him to, and you can't feel responsible that he's angry at you for whatever. I mean, it sounds honestly like he needs to deal with his situation. So you're fine. Just let go of any expectation of communication right now. Kelsey, how do you deal with intense favoritism and narcissism in the family? Well, again, Maitri. Like, who cares? If they love some brother or sister more than you, that's their problem, their issue, and be happy for whoever's being favorited. There's this great quote in Buddhism that says, loss and defeat to myself, gain and victory to others. Just transform that attitude of wanting gain and victory for yourself. Just say, well, I'm happy for my sibling that they're the favorite. My father was probably, I was told, was the favorite in that family, and that was hard for my uncle and maybe my aunt. My aunt seems to be okay with it, but who cares? That's the parents' choice, and the parents just let go. Just be independent. Narcissism in the family, that's a little harder. If they're just self-absorbed, Jesus, human beings we're such a trip. I mean, I think the answer to both is really invest in your own life, in loving yourself, in going climbing or hiking or falling in love or pursuing right livelihood. Hopefully that video is in the comments by now. Travis, I'm sure it is. And if it's not, let's put it in there. And just really invest in yourself and your own love and your own affection and humor in your own life will be magnetic for others. And then you'll get a little more favoritism toward yourself. But really just do it for yourself. Treat yourself well. It's that blog Maitri. It keeps coming back to it. Laura Bonda. Family. My parents divorced, raised by my grandma and grandpa or grandma. Just found my mom after 44 years. Wow. Dad blew up. Their personal issues. Me and my mom continue to talk on Facebook. Love this topic. Thanks for sharing. Wow, Laura, that's some intense stuff. I hope you're a writer, because that would be amazing to write about, just for yourself even. If you want to write about it in a helpful way for others, any of you can write about anything that's helpful for others. elephantjournal.com/submit or write. I'm not sure. How do you deal with forgiveness for your own dirt that can't be undone and it's really bad? Oh, Maria. Well, first of all, if it can't be undone, you're answering your own question. If you did the worst possible thing, you need to own up to it and take responsibility for it. If you have any debt to society, then maybe you need to pay that debt. But if it's just like internal bad stuff that you feel bad about, you got to deal with that for yourself so you can stop kind of living it and having it sort of affect your future. So Tonglen, again, you really need to process that stuff now. So practice Tonglen now. Go to your local Shambhala center now. Find a community, a mindful community. Really take it seriously. If you have this own dirt that really can't be undone and it's really bad, you got to deal with it. So that's why we talk about non-New Age spirituality. We don't talk about trying to get away from negativity and cling to positivity. We talk about facing the music, dealing with life with some sense of gentleness and humor. So check out that blog, Tonglen. Ashley, you're like a big sister to me, so. All right. Bethany, I found it to be very triggering to be around women on my mother's side of the family, mom included, who are prim and proper and polite and brush things under the rug sort of attitude. Exactly. I've always wanted to have a close relationship with my mother, but still have not figured out a way to move past this trigger. Bethany, I'm not totally understanding. I think a little typo in there, but basically, you want a close relationship with your mom. Number one, you got to let go of ever having it. That's a painful, sad thing, but you have to let go of it. And then, ironically, you can engage it and maybe you'll get it. You really have to let go of wanting it and just unconditionally love her, unconditionally love yourself. And then you can go meet with her and say, hey, this is, I've wanted to be loved by you and to love you all my life. I've kind of let go of that. I'm investing in my own life and my own healthiness and happiness. That said, I still really care about you, and let's do something fun. What would be fun for you to do? And start doing things together. You know, like I'm visiting my mom tomorrow. We're going to go swimming. We're going to go, I don't know what all we'll do, but we're going to do things. And there's nothing more, there's such a relief in actually just beginning to do things instead of sort of talking about stuff and struggling with our family. We can just begin doing fun things with them. Go for a hike with your dad, you know, or your mom. All right, Niam. I own a family business with my brother, and it is such a difficult experience, but it is probably the biggest lesson I have had in my life. I have learned so much about my reactions and buttons that are so easily inflamed by family. I'm grateful for the experience, even though it's sometimes very uncomfortable. Niam, you sound like an adult, and I don't mean adult in a pretentious, like you've figured everything out way. I mean, I have the same situation. I work with my colleague Dave. I mean, similar. It's probably not as hard. But my colleague Dave is also my best friend. It's super hard to work with, like people you're close with and who you love, separate from your business. But it's such a profound way to grow up if we can really figure out how to engage with our family, with our loved ones, in without trying to run away. You know, our lives can really, we can finally begin to kind of grow up. So it's powerful stuff. I am trying to block. That didn't work. I'm trying to block this Facebook has all these numbers. I don't like it. All right. Does that work? This is awkward. All right. Niam, congrats to you anyway. Deborah. I don't know what you're referring to. Jay. How do we keep our family close but not have to talk with them every day or overdo it? Good to see you again. Jay, I don't know. I would ask you for your own advice. I mean, you have more experience with that than I do, probably. From my experience, I'm rarely in touch with my family because I'm just not a very good communicator, ironically. I put all my communication to Elephant and into you all and trying to be of service to the world. And, you know, my mom's really far away. My auntie's far away. My grandma's far away. And I'm just not in touch very well. And I'm a bad example of that, of being in touch. But at the same time, I think that keeps things simple, and, you know, I am responsible for my own life. So there's a positive and a negative to it. But as everyone loves to say, call your mom. I did talk to her 2 days ago or something. And, you know, we want to be close, but you can just not, it's okay not to answer the phone sometimes if they're calling you all the time. Hey, Melina. I keep thinking my Hermione wand will work. Yeah, my Bic wand I don't think worked. John Travis, in my experience, parents always set the example that their children have followed. That's true, but we also aren't, our lives and our habits aren't determined by our parents. They're influenced significantly by it, but we also have our education and our friends and our faith or our meditation. We have a lot of different influences that change us, that form us, that shape us when we're children. Robin Stone, I lost my dad in December and my mom last week. I had been proud of my siblings and myself for working so well together, taking care of my mom the past several months, each of us taking on different responsibilities. But now I'm concerned that we'll fall apart as a family. My sister was upset by the way the arrangements were made, and I felt like she took it out on me. Now I feel like I'm losing her too. We are all very far apart in age, so it's an odd dynamic, and we're all very different. But I love them dearly and don't want us to fall apart as we grieve these two losses so close together. Any advice is much appreciated. Honestly, Robin, it sounds like you have a very sane, very mature experience going on. I would literally copy paste your question and change the tense and send it to your sister and say, hey, sis, as you know, we lost our dad in December and our mom last week. I've been proud of you and our other siblings and myself, as well as myself, for working so well together, etc. But now I'm concerned that we'll fall apart. I know you were upset by the way the arrangements were made, and I do feel like you took it out on me. Now I feel like I'm losing you too. Just restate, just really just send that. Just be open and honest and communicate without aggression, without expectation, but with honesty. And I feel like it'll be a relief for her as well. We all have that situation when we're in a relationship with someone and we have these irritations with each other, and then we're around a third party and we can joke about the irritations we have with each other in front of that third party because the third party is there, and we can acknowledge it. And that relief of acknowledging hard things in a light way is something we can actually practice with one another. I don't know if that makes sense, but we can directly at any time bring stuff up that's been irritating us. It does us no favors to be secretive about our irritations for a loved one. Whatever your irritation is that's been going on, maybe they leave the door open when they poop and you don't like that. You can just say that and say it without aggression, say it with some light sense of humor or at least vulnerability. Say, hey, that's my experience. I don't enjoy it. And maybe that's my own problem. You can take some responsibility for whatever the thing is. All right, good luck with that. And big love to you from everyone here. Robin, that's a lot to go through. So maybe lower the bar as well for yourself. Just say, hey, I've gone through a lot. And I really need to take care of myself. Read that blog, Maitri. All right, Rebecca, I have 2 sons who are alcoholics, and I love them to the moon and back, but I do not tolerate them being, I assume, alcoholics. Yeah, I mean, that sounds fair. It sounds like you love them, and that's a tough situation, but you don't have to love their alcoholism. You do need to, know that they need to know that you love them unconditionally of whatever they're going through, but at the same time, read that blog, Idiot Compassion. I think for any parent who's going through that kind of situation, that Idiot Compassion blog really spells it out well. You can't save them or help them. You can just be there for them, which does help them, but you can't save them, They have to save themselves. Jennifer, I've also been learning of late how to let family members go. Sometimes you need to have compassion from a distance, when closeness to aggression or addiction or imbalance is blocking you from feeling love and having compassion inside of that love for the person who's hurting you. To be in a tornado and trying to survive it often blocks the mindfulness to stay calm, accept and forgive the damage whirling around you, and to find the exit so that you may in fact survive. Space from injury promotes healing. Yes. So Jennifer, I'm not sure I understood all of that, but it was eloquent and beautiful. Honestly, my recommendation would be to write all that out. I mean, you have a real way with words, and you could submit that as an article, or you could just write that out and then share it with others if you feel like it. Often the experience of journaling or writing is a great way to express this kind of thing. But yeah, compassion from a distance when folks are going through aggression, addiction, or imbalance. Um, that's there's nothing wrong with giving yourself a little space. If you've really tried and failed repeatedly to help others in your life, you can just maybe go to them. Don't just disappear and say, hey, I really feel like I've tried. I love you, but this isn't working and I'm not even helping. Maybe share that blog idiot compassion with them and just say, let's take some space. Maybe not total space. I'm not blocking you out of my life, but I'm no longer going to try and clean up your messes. Rebecca, yeah, you don't tolerate them being hateful to me. Amen. I mean, Rebecca, that sounds great. If that's all that's going on, basically, sounds like you have your head on straight about it. And that's a tough situation for anyone, including for them. Stephanie, a lot of discussion about addiction in families. Gentle reminder, addiction is a family disease. Most addicts don't want to be addicts, but it serves a maladaptive purpose, fulfilling a void that... Yeah, so everyone reads Stephanie's comment. And Stephanie, please copy paste that and expand that into an article. We do have a lot of articles on family addiction on Elephant you can search that are a lot wiser than I can be. And that is true. I mean, in Vermont, which is going through a heroin epidemic, the I think Republican governor switched tacks from trying to jail these people to trying to provide no blame healthcare sort of addiction therapy for these people, and methadone or whatever it is. And the lines were around the block of addicts wanting to get clean, and addicts want that pleasure, want that release from pain that a drug can provide, but they also, more than that, they want a meaningful life without addiction. And most of them, and some are not at that point yet, but most all of us just want to be able to live a good life and be available to others who we love and enjoy that life and have a life of meaning. So I love your comment, and please, Stephanie, consider submitting an article that we can share and be a good example to many. Leah, my family distanced me when I didn't take the role of a homemaker, wife, or mother. I've forgiven them for their judgment so that I can move on. At 31, I'm truly learning to love myself and find your words so enlightening. I'm currently trying to distance myself from a narcissistic relationship, and your blogs are inspirational. I read them every day and feel myself growing strong. Fantastic. Just remember, we're all narcissistic to varying degrees, and true narcissists, like Trump perhaps, where everything is about me. That is a difficult thing to be around. But just remember that, we all have egos, and read that Drive All Blames into one blog. It's powerful stuff. Yeah, that Walt Whitman one isn't the one. There's a Walt Whitman one about depression, everyday depression. But that Walt Whitman quote is a beautiful thing to post on your wall. Love that man. Alrighty, Gil. And this might be the last comment. Best things I ever heard about families, assuming you weren't in an abusive situation. Firstly, no one comes out of childhood unscathed. And secondly, your parents were only doing what they thought was best at the time. Wish I learned this decades ago. Yeah, Gil, that's a beautiful comment. A lot of us blame our parents, our father, our mother, for being imperfect, when really they're just idiots like you and me. Like, well-intentioned idiots. Isn't that most of us? We're all just bumbling along in life trying our best. And agree that, if it's an abusive situation, that's a different thing. But if it's not abusive, like when I'm a father, I'm sure I'll be a jerk of a husband, and I'll lose my temper as a father, and I'll make all kinds of mistakes, and I'll be super hard on myself for those mistakes. I won't be abusive. I will hopefully be a loving, wonderful father overall, but I'm going to make nonstop mistakes. I mean, I think there's like relationships and families, no matter how hard they are, the fundamental gift they give us is that they're humbling, that they remind us that we have a lot of growing up yet to do. And that's the joy in life, is we grow up. So on one of our tote bags, you can find it in our market if you feel like buying it. It's an organic cotton tote bag, and it talks about the notion of sugata, which is that in Buddhism, our goal is to come from confusion to enlightenment, or confusion to being of service to others, being of genuine benefit to others. But the higher path, the path that we honor even more in Buddhism, is if you can be of service and be, go from confusion to waking up, but with joy. So try and walk this path with some genuine joy, and genuine joy is founded in Maitri and in making friends with your own loneliness, your own neurosis, your own failings. So read that blog, Maitri, and hopefully that'll be helpful. So Brooke, one more comment. My father killed himself about 8 years ago. He was a wonderful hippie dad, and I miss him very much. I have learned so much from him and his tragic death. I learned I am in charge of my happiness. That's a fantastic thing to learn, and maybe a parting gift. Also, we put our fathers on pedestals. They are human, exactly. So I have a lot of blogs on non-theism. We put our heroes, we put our gurus, we put our teachers, we put our lovers, we put our first love, particularly we put our parents on pedestals. And as Cary Grant says in Love Affair, or Affair to Remember, he says, we put them up here and then we put them up here. Sorry, I got to be on camera. We put them up here and then the more I know them, they come down here. So that's actually an okay thing, that we can't put anyone on a pedestal. So Brooke, huge love to you and to your father. We also have many powerful blogs on suicide, and including the suicide prevention resources, if you know anyone who's feeling that way. But all of us go through points. I mean, just this weekend I was biking around saying, what is the point of my life? I don't know how useful I am. I don't know how happy I am. I mean, we all reach these points where from a rational point of view we can say, what are we doing here, And those points of what in Buddhism you call losing heart are actually really positive points. They're not negative things to run away from. When we come to the rock bottom of our lives or of our emotion, of our mind, and we say, what am I here for? That's a wonderful, powerful question that we can then say, I am here to be genuine. I am here to be of benefit to others and this planet and animals. And with that intention or aspiration, we can live our everyday lives with true fulfillment that rises above or goes below mere happiness. So whether we're happy or not, we can be a benefit. All right, so that's the intention that we'll meditate with right now. So let's practice a little meditation with the 106 folks of you who are left. All right. So if you'd like to meditate with me, you can stick around. If not, obviously, you can leave. Free country. All right. So you can begin meditation. Let me unplug this. Can't leave things plugged in if you're not using them, because that uses just as much energy as if you were using them. We want to be eco-responsible. So begin with a bow. A bow isn't some weird hippie yoga namaste thing. A bow is just kind of connecting heaven, earth, and your own heart in a gesture of respect and love for whatever the intention is. So the intention here is to be of benefit to your family, to yourself, to your loved ones, and to be truly joyful and of service. So bow with me. Then take a good posture. This is Buddhist meditation. You can kind of rock your hips a little until you feel grounded. Feel the earth below, eyes open, because you're not trying to block out the world in any way. You're trying to invite the world in and invite your meditation mind into the world. Sort of like mixing the two. Now, looking down a little bit, shoulders back, up, back, down, relaxed. Neck relaxed, chin relaxed, mouth slightly open, hands flat on your thighs. Find your breath in and out. The breath here is simply a stand-in for the present moment. So you're going to place your attention lightly on your breath in and out. This is the best practice that there is for how to enjoy your life in a genuine way, how to be useful, how to overcome these difficulties with family, with friends, with loved ones, and with yourself. So breathe in and breathe out. Place your attention on your breath lightly, not forcefully, not with aggression. Just lightly place your attention on your breath in and out. This is a way to be aware of your larger life and potential and surroundings. So when you feel yourself thinking, distracted by something, say, I'm thinking, and return your attention to your breath, in and out. And that's it. That's shamatha meditation. So breathe in, breathe out, find yourself thinking about lunch, about something distracting, a song in your head, label it thinking, and return your attention to your breath. Let's try that for 5 breaths. Find yourself thinking, just label it thinking, return your attention to your breath. It's that simple. Try that first thing in the morning, last thing before you go to bed. Dedicate yourself with a bow to the benefit of all others, including yourself. And if you want to keep elephant in your life, get our newsletter, elephantjournal.com/newsletter. Facebook is reducing how elephant is seen on Facebook, so if you're used to getting us on Facebook, that will probably not continue. Make sure to get our newsletter, which is like our online magazine. And if you are on Facebook, if you like or comment or share something, Facebook will continue to show it to you. Alrighty, hope you're well. Mwah. I may or may not be doing these much this week because I'll be traveling to go visit my mom. And if I do them, I'll be in Halifax, Nova Scotia.